You're listening to Shack Together. Today's episode recorded a bit early in the week, so you might be missing some news that you expect to hear because today is Tuesday, and you're listening to this sometime after Thursday. That being said, we have a packed episode for you. First up is Asif diving into his Tears of the Kingdom journey. We brainstorm a couple of crazy ideas for him to build. Afterwards, we hear all about the Rabbit R1, a new AI hardware product that I will let Asif tell you more about so that I don't spoil his review. Ozzie Mejia, Senior Editor at Shacknews, joins us today, and I immediately throw him in the ringer with Asif during our segment How Long to D2, which I will not spoil. Maybe you can use your imagination and figure out what the heck that means. That's a fun one. Story time is beefy, lots of reviews, Road Trip, Indika, Surmount, Razer Viper V3 Pro mouse, and of course V Rising. The 1.0 release is here. Shacknews has the details. We unfortunately touch on the Microsoft, Arkane, Austin, and Tango Gameworks layoffs and studio closures. Nothing good there. But what is good is Hades 2 is here. Early access has arrived. A shadow drop, no less. Very cool. Apple today showed us their iPad Pro and iPad Air refreshes. And we would be remiss if we did not touch on the Nintendo earnings, which came with a delicious tidbit about the Switch successor, courtesy Mr. Furukawa. So that does it. All that and more on today's show. Thank you, as always, for listening. Be sure to subscribe. And here we go.
Izzy and I were up late night covering Nintendo. And then...
What time? What time did that air?
Came out around, 2:30 in the morning Eastern, 11:30 at night over in LA. Mm-hmm. I think that was around the time, right, Ozzy? Something like that.
Yeah, and then it looked like it was going to be an easy night. And then suddenly TJ is flying home, and out of nowhere, he's like, hey, look what Furukawa said. It's like, oh, awesome.
You know, something that I've kind of held on to as a Nintendo shareholder is that I take pride in that my CEO doesn't just tweet in the middle of the night. And then Furukawa comes out and tweets in the middle of the night. And it's not just Elon Musk where he's like, this is concerning, or, oh, cool, or laughing at the founder of Dogecoin or something. No, Furukawa comes out with the heat. He's like, Switch 2, we're going to announce it. Just not in June. It's going to happen sometime between now and the end of March 2025.
He did confirm a Nintendo Direct in June.
Confirmed the Direct and then dumped a whole bucket of water on it at the same time. He was like, hey, we are doing the June Direct, but don't expect anything Switch 2 at it. And it's like, okay.
I kind of like that. I mean,
I love it.
From the consumer perspective, I like that.
No, and we'll get into the financial side of the story later in the show, but I love it. I find it charming whenever we see a tweet that says, this is Furukawa or this is Miyamoto. Yes. But yeah, I do think that it was done in a way to provide a cushion to the stock because the report wasn't good. I wouldn't say the report was fine. Their forecast is not good. And we'll get to that later, but it was pretty interesting. I think that's the first time we've seen this is Furukawa on Twitter or anywhere.
I don't recall that. Yeah, it's pretty good.
So I'm sitting there. Ozzy's obviously writing the article for Shacknews, and I'm just staring at the tweet on Twitter, and I'm like how should a social media outlet handle this tweet? And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna retweet Mr. Furukawa's son. So I did it. I retweeted him, and the rest is history. Now the whole world knows that
this is Matt Booty.
No. It would just be, this is Booty. You're listening to Shack Together, a Shacknews video game podcast where we celebrate May the 4th a week late because Joe forgot. I'm your host, Asif Khan, and today I'm joined by our producer, Joe Stasio, and our senior editor, Ozzie Mejia. John Benjamin is on assignment somewhere in the metaverse, but he'll be back eventually.
Eventually.
So Joe, in this script, you have me asking John what he's been playing.
I kind of messed up.
I'm going to
that should
say John's
Ozzie.
probably still playing Fortnite. Just knowing that guy, he really likes Fortnite.
Can confirm.
But Ozzie, since you're our guest here, welcome back to the Shacknews Extended Podcast Universe, the SIPU, as they call it, the kids call it. What have you been playing lately, Ozzie?
I have been rediscovering a game called Vampire Survivors, and I forgot how much that gets its claws into you, and how much fun it is to try and get to that half-hour time limit on a lot of those stages. And when you get there, like, it takes a minute to get there, but once you got that right build, and you're just taking down anything that gets near you, like, it's so satisfying. And we're gonna have more on this later this week, because there's something coming to Vampire Survivors that's Contra themed. And yes, and I'll have more to say about it later this week.
Well, technically, this episode will air on Thursday. I don't know if that helps.
It'll help. Oh, that certainly helps. In fact, Thursday, that means that I can say that, yeah, this Contra DLC is awesome, dude.
Hell yeah.
Like, it takes a minute to unlock the characters, because you basically start out with the map, and then it's like, okay, you gotta get the achievements, but to get Bill and Lance, you have to explore the map, and that takes a minute. It actually took me a while to even find Bill yesterday. Like, I think he's like way deep, like in the south right corner of the map, and I eventually found him. And what's funny is, like, I had been recording all my runs, but this is the one that I didn't record. And, like, once I got to the south end of the map, I'm like, oh wait, I should hit record. And as I hit the record button, I'm like, watch, this is going to be the one where I find him.
Nice.
And sure enough, yeah, I found him. And I'm like, okay, well, I went, like, way far off the beaten path, because it's laid out sort of like those top-down stages in Contra 3. So I'm, like, in the corner, and I'm like, you know what? I've got a perfect build. I'm just going to stay here for probably the rest of the half hour. And sure enough, I'm just, like, wiping out whatever enemy comes towards me. It's a lot of Contra-themed enemies, just really cool. And suddenly I see this arrow pointing, like, towards the top left, and I see a countdown timer. I go, wait, am I supposed to escape? And I was like, okay, I feel like I'm supposed to escape or I'm going to die. So I start making my way out. Like, my build is strong enough that I'm staying alive, and I finally follow the arrow to the very end. And it takes about a couple minutes, but he gets to the very end, and there's a new area that opens up.
Ooh.
It triggers an old school Contra boss fight.
Dude.
And it's epic, man. Like, I haven't played the other stage yet, because I haven't unlocked the other stage yet, but, like, I'm so satisfied with this. Like, this, for someone who's such an old school Contra fan like me, like, for just like the $2.99 that this is going to cost you, like, this is awesome. I absolutely loved all of this.
I mean, the game itself is affordable, and then, yeah, the DLC has been priced pretty aggressively. I think it was hilarious when they're like, we're doing a collaboration with Konami, and they chose Contra instead of Castlevania, but now it makes perfect sense. That's rad. I'm curious, what build were you using? Like, are you a garlic person, or what are you?
I'm normally a garlic person, but I had the King Bibles, and the King Bibles were actually able to help me out a lot. But there are also a couple of new weapons that are coming with the DLC. There's Metal Claw that gets more powerful as your health goes down. So, like, it's basically a close range attack, keeps enemies off your back. And then Stanley Ironside has missiles, and as you upgrade the missiles, like, they get so explosive, dude. And then, like, as soon as you evolve the missiles, they basically become super missiles that break off into smaller missiles.
Nice.
So cool.
Okay.
You can blow shit up, man, throughout this DLC.
Okay,
so
I'm
you're going to
back.
be wanting to use, like, a lot of those new weapons.
Okay, I'm in. You got me. I'm in. I had a hell of a run with this game when it came out. Was that 2 years ago? Yeah. I think it was 22? Yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yes, because I think last year I was making my case for it for best ongoing game. And I'm probably going to do it again.
I agree. And yeah, that was a game that I would, I unlocked unlimited mode or whatever, and I would just leave it on my computer, because I had these, like, OP builds, and it was just fun to run the clock up. But I got to that point where I was like, I burnt myself out of the game, but this sounds like new and fresh. And I've always enjoyed the parts of Vampire Survivors where like the unexpected happens in the world, right? Where like what you're talking about with that boss fight, I'm like that. I love the moments like that happen in that game. And it's always exciting and fun. And yeah, it's such a simple concept, but they've done so much with it already. I love that game. It's an excellent video game.
My one thing that I'll advise for people that might be listening who have not played the base game yet is you need to play at least like the first 3 stages and get the map.
Yeah.
Because the Neo Contra City has a map, but you can't access the map unless you have the other map in the dairy farm or whatever.
Oh, okay.
You need that map to help you get around.
Yeah, that makes sense. Dude, that sounds awesome. Nice. Are you playing anything else?
I actually have not had time to. I'm still making my way through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I'm past Costa del Sol, and I got to the minecart section. And what's funny about the minecart section is Barrett's all excited about it, and I'm a Super Mario RPG fan, so I'm looking at it, and Barrett's like, "Come on, what could go wrong?" And I'm thinking about Mario plowing through the roof on a minecart in Moleville, and I go, "This is like a year after that." Like Final Fantasy VII came out like the year after Super Mario RPG, so that's just funny to me.
Yeah,
What
Joe,
do you think,
are you
Ozzie?
playing that?
I am somehow beyond Ozzie by the sound of it, but my interest really took a dive.
That's because Ozzie has to play like 8,000 games every day.
No, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm a few chapters ahead of that. So you're on your way to
Gold Saucer.
the Gold Saucer. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. So you haven't even gotten to the Star Fox mini game yet.
I have not.
That's the only thing I really care about in that game.
I'm going to finish this game by the time Summer Game Fest comes along. Hopefully,
Yep.
I'm going to hopefully roll credits on that. But no, I've been playing a lot of games for review, and anything that's for fun is either Rebirth, in this case, Vampire Survivors. Like you got those claws back into me, and Marvel Snap, which the new season is about to start any minute. So
That's right.
I'm excited for that today.
Yeah, we're recording this on a Tuesday for the folks at home, but it'll still go live on a Thursday. Nice. Well, Joe, I see your notes that you plan on buying a video game today.
It's an improvement, right?
I mean, yeah, it's better than talking about a book again.
which I did not do last time. Yeah,
That's true.
To spare everybody. Yeah, I'm going to check out Animal Well, which by the time this is out, I think it's release day when this podcast goes live. So something very freakish looking in a good way about some of the materials I've seen. And it looks like some reviews are going live that are pretty glowing. So I'm stoked on that one.
Nice. Yeah, that's the Video Game Donkey Big Mode Publishing, their first game.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, big times coming up for old Donkey and Leah.
For sure.
Which I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for those.
Hell yeah.
For those guys.
I enjoyed last year when he did their equivalent in the Nintendo Direct. He called it a Big Mode Memo. I was like, I like that.
That's right.
I enjoyed that. That was my favorite presentation of the year. But yeah, nice.
Yeah. What about you, Asif?
What about me? What am I playing?
Yeah. What about you?
I'm pretty deep in Tears of the Kingdom right now. I took everyone's advice on the podcast last week and I began my building projects.
Nice.
So I built what I think it was just called BattleBot version 1, and it was like a rolling robot kind of thing that had lasers on it. It had the shock things on it. It had there's these cannons that freeze things on it, and it had hydrants. So in theory, it could electrocute enemies. It could also freeze them, and it would shoot lasers at them. I found it to be
it's like Captain Planet, but like a tank.
Kinda.
Yeah.
It was more like a Roomba. If you made a Roomba into a killing machine, if you glued 4 Roombas together and you made them a killing machine that was autonomous, I didn't have to ride it around or anything. Okay. I found it was pretty good at fighting like smaller enemies, right? So like moblins and stuff like that. And I have a clip of this, so maybe I'll share it. I don't know what. So you know how stone taluses kind of are hidden across Hyrule. Like, you don't really know they're there until you walk up to them, and then they kind of rise out of the ground. So I thought I was just walking up on a small enemy camp. And I was like, oh, this would be great. I'm going to try out the battle bot here. And like, you get that dun 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 dun, you know, the song that comes out, and then the stone talus rises out of the ground, and literally just one rock fist and just smashes the battle bot. I was like, oh man.
Wow.
And you hear like the battery disconnected sound. I'm like, oh no. It wasn't like, oh, I could put it back together. No, gone. Just disintegrated.
How do you guard against, like, is there an architecture that is more stable, or is it some sort of like more battery or something that keeps the armor up?
Definitely not more battery, man. This I think what it really boils down to is that like you have to build it in a way. I've actually been thinking about this since that horrible event. But yeah, like you have to build it taller, I think, so that the lasers can shoot at the talus. You know how you have to hit the little rock or whatever on top of the talus to kill it?
Right.
My robot was unable to hit that from the perspective that it was at. It was just like, it rolled up to its death, basically. Because I use these sentinel heads or whatever they're called. So when you do that and you use the homing drone on the bottom, if there's an enemy nearby, this thing's going to drive right to it. So it saw the stone talus and it was like, I'm going to fight it. And I'm like, I haven't successfully killed a talus yet with a robot, but in theory, I'm going to try to build a much taller robot with like a wooden platform in front of it kind of thing, or maybe even box it so that you can't hit it from any angle. I am also thinking about creating, it would almost look like a forklift, so I could drive it around, but then at the top of the forklift, there would just be like a bunch of lasers and shit pointing downwards. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There is like another thing I could do with those floating platforms where you make a floating platform, you put some wheels on the bottom of it, you strap a bunch of random lasers and crap on the wheels so they're like spinning around, and then you summon that above the stone talus, and you hit it with an arrow so that it stays up there. I think that might be one way to handle a stone talus. So yeah, I'm still figuring stuff out. And I did learn some interesting stuff this weekend. I'm not spoiling anything by saying that there is a light dragon in the game, right? There's a light dragon. Only people of pure heart can see it. But anyway, the light dragon, just like any other dragon in the game, you can get parts off of it. So I have some talons from the light dragon, or claws or whatever, and I attached it to a weapon. When I was hitting enemies with the light dragon sword that I had, it actually heals Link as you hurt others. I was like, that's cool. I had no idea it did that. Just never encountered it. So I thought that was kind of
that was my Ganon weapon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you have the Master Sword with a light dragon fuse?
I think that was it. I explicitly remember the light dragon bit. Yeah, I think Master Sword attachment.
Yeah, you have to, because it's 60 damage when you walk in there. Anyway, so I thought that was neat. And I learned something else, because, I want to fly across Hyrule.
Right.
The wings, the wings in the game, they do not last. They disappear after 1 minute.
Sure.
In the air. So what am I going to do? That basically means you cannot fly across Hyrule with a flying contraption built with wings.
There's videos of people that like immediately catch themselves after it vanishes with a replacement.
No, that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's I'm not saying I could pull it off or that you should try, but people do that.
That's ridiculous. Not going to do that.
Is.
What I am going to do, I'm going to fly across Hyrule probably with a hover bike, but I'm also considering building other kinds of contraptions that can fly. Maybe like a quadcopter kind of thing. Like a drone. I think you could do that. But man, I had this awesome flying machine built with a wing, and I had one of those tech heads. I can't remember what they're called. They're like, there's one part where it'll aim at enemies. So I put a laser on top of one of those robot heads at the front of the ship So like, because that was the thing I was concerned about when flying across Hyrule, is there's a ton of Aracudas and stuff in the air that you're going to encounter. So like a hover bike by itself, I think you're going to run into problems, but you could just try to run away from enemies, I guess, with it, because it is a pretty maneuverable vehicle. But yeah, I am preparing for my stream this Friday. So I actually didn't really play any F-Zero last week, which I know.
Are you at how flush are you with parts or
I'm sitting around like
material?
70 to 80 of almost every Zonai device, and I have nearly 300 of the large Zonai balls for charging vehicles.
And how many balls does it cost to get your typical build built?
Oh, none. Because I'm not using any.
You're just using the parts. You're just using the parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the balls are for recharging it midair and stuff.
Right.
So,
okay.
Or like mid battle, right? Like I don't want my Lionel killing machine to run out of battery while I'm fighting. And that's the thing. That's the thing I've learned. If you put too many devices on these things, it'll drain your battery rapidly. So it's this balance of like the right amount of parts, the right amount of things combined together. And then, yeah, I have a lot of batteries, and I have a lot of big batteries that I can slap on stuff. So
can I commission an experiment of you?
Sure.
This game is like the ultimate game of like, I wonder if I did this, and then it works, right?
Sure.
So the device that I need your help understanding it. There's a device that seeks enemies, right?
Yes.
And is it a wheel? Like in what way?
It looks like a Roomba. It's like a cart.
Okay.
It's like the bottom part of a cart.
Yes. Got it. I remember it now, right?
Uh-huh.
So could you dangle like a monster part or head or something in front of a vehicle, and would it pursue that?
Oh, that's interesting. I can try.
Okay, commissioned.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I have read that if you put a dragon part on your Zonai device, that it will last longer, but I have not. I tried that with the wing, and it doesn't work, by the way. So that was frustrating because I had this awesome build. It was so cool. It had like 3 wheels on it, the smaller wheels. It had 3 fans on the back, and it had that laser on the front, obviously the steering in the middle. And I was like, man, I'm going to fly all over the place with this thing. And I like take off from Gerudo Desert. I don't even make it to the canyon. I was like, God damn. So yeah, I'm still experimenting with that. And then
second commission, because you got the wheels turning here.
Okay.
Since I believe you're right that the wings are a time issue, not a distance issue.
Correct.
Like what does 4,000 rockets behind you do on the wings?
So you're saying just like slap a bunch of rockets on it and then just shoot myself across Hyrule?
Yes.
Huh.
Find that threshold. Where's the limit?
I mean, because to your point, it's about getting me across Hyrule in a minute.
You're right. Exactly. How do you enable that?
I'll do that on stream.
And then the next bit is the wings help the whole thing begin.
Sure.
But once you got the rockets going, can you put like a platform under the wings, and the wings vanish, and you still got your platform, and you're already midair, and you're already going 400 kilometers an hour. Is that viable?
So,
like, can you catch yourself? Right? Can you catch yourself?
So you're basically saying like put like a wood plank underneath the wings.
Yes.
Have a bunch of rockets attached to the wings. The problem is, Joe, how am I steering this thing? Is the controller on the wing, or is it on? And if it's not, I have to put it on the wood underneath the. You know what I'm saying?
I have faith in you.
That's a good idea, though. That's a good idea. I'm glad we're having this brainstorming session before the stream. And yeah, I hope people tune in and just suggest things for me to try. But yeah, I do like the idea of just strapping a bunch of rockets to a plane and seeing what happens. I worry that, like, have you like noticed, like, do things go faster? Like, those floating platforms that sometimes you had to strap rockets to go higher. Do they go faster with more rockets?
It's been like 8 months. I don't know. I don't remember.
I'm gonna
Maybe
find
not.
out. I'll find out. That's an interesting idea. It's almost like throwing myself across the level as opposed to flying.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's like a way where I could build like there's like a hover bike strapped to the bottom of it, and then like when the
Yeah.
plane falls apart, I just land on the hover bike.
Yeah. Or like like a hot air balloon, or I think actually those
Hot air
vanish too.
balloons also disintegrate in a minute.
Yeah. There's a way. You can find a way.
Hover bike, man, it is so damn versatile. I flew from Gerudo Desert to that Thundercloud Sky Island with a
Mhm.
hover bike just for fun.
It's a high utility vehicle.
Yeah, it is. It broke the game in many ways. And I think that they were afraid that the Wing would have done the same. So I don't blame them for nerfing it. Why, I understand why they nerfed it. But now, like, once he defeated Ganon, don't you think it would just be okay if they're like, you know what? Fine. You can now fly everywhere. Like that, we talked about on a previous podcast, like it would be nice if there was like a more sandboxy mode of the game. Considering it's like the greatest sandbox ever created, it would be nice if they just like embraced that aspect. And they really haven't.
There will be a Switch 2 patch, and all will be well.
I don't know, man. Like Ozzie, we reported on Nintendo's earnings yesterday. Like, one thing we didn't even mention: Tears of the Kingdom sales. They don't exist. That like it hit 20 million, and it's just kind of sat there for months.
I mean, that's a really good number, though. I understand it's probably not what they projected, but
It's a good number, but like for it to stay there, like it's kind of weird. Like Mario Kart moved another 8 million
in a
like,
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was 2 million during the quarter, but like they basically sold 2 million a quarter all year long for Kart, a game that is already at 60 million. You know what I mean? So it's the drop off. Like they sold 20 million very rapidly, like in 2 quarters, and then it's just kind of sat there. And Christmas came and went, it didn't sell well, and now this quarter came and went, it didn't sell well. They're mad about it, and it has everything to do with the piracy. Because I think the piracy of the game, the leaking of the story, all those things adversely impacted the sales. Because you have the analog of Breath of the Wild sales, and that's at, I think, 31 million units sold, obviously in like a 7-year period. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about Zelda right now. Although I love that game. It's great. And yeah, I do think I think I'm enjoying duping because of the location I go to has like my favorite music in the game. And I'll just like kind of sit there with the rain and the music. It's just a nice ambient noise to have in my house. So I think I'm not duping as much as I was. I'm just kind of sitting there listening to music at times. But yeah, so this isn't necessarily a game that I've been playing, but it's been something that has taken up my time in the last week since
is it a book?
No, God, no. It's not a book.
God, no.
It is. No, like, I like books. This is not that. So, there's this whole push in the AI world for these multimodal, products built for AI. And I received delivery of one of them on Thursday, the Rabbit R1. This is how do I say this?
What would you even call it, Asif? Other than,
It's hardware built for AI that does so many things wrong from a device standpoint that I cannot in good conscience recommend this to any person. It's not that it's terrible. It's just incredibly ill-conceived in almost every way that you would think from a product perspective. So this device has a touch screen, right? You can't use it. There's like a terminal mode that pulls up a keyboard in which you can use the on-screen keyboard. That's it. The rest of the time, you have to navigate it with a scroll wheel that's on the right side of the device. The other input is a button that's also on the right side of the device. So get this. You can't use the scroll wheel and the button with one hand. It's like impossible because they're both on the same side. You're scrolling with your thumb, then you have to move your hand. So just from a fundamental scrolling content on a screen perspective, this is like a few decades behind where current technology is. So, okay, that's just one problem with it. So it's supposed to be a voice assistant, right?
Yeah.
It can take notes. It can provide summaries of text if you show it to them. It has a computer vision component, but the computer vision component is based on images, not video. So it basically takes a picture of what you show it. It sends it to the cloud, to ChatGPT or whatever. It analyzes it, and then it tells you what the GPT thinks it saw. I ran into several problems with this. It could not detect Elon Musk in a picture. It could not detect that my tree had weird poop growths on it. And it actually, at one point, it couldn't even detect a tree branch. It said that I was looking at a broken window with a tree behind it. It also did not understand when I asked it for the weather in Canton, Ohio. It instead provided the weather in Canada, the whole country.
Yeah, not just one part of Canada, just the entire thing.
Yeah, it's like, here's the weather for Canada. I'm like, that's not how this works at all. And then I was chatting with my brother about it because he's interested in it from an accessibility standpoint. And he was like, can you just ask it to open its settings page? You know, like with your voice. You know how like Siri can do that?
Yeah.
No, you can't. Here's how you get settings to open on this thing. You have to shake the device.
Ugh.
And then that comes up with a screen, which then you have to use that stupid scroll wheel and button to navigate. And there's like on-screen volume controls and stuff. But guess what? You can't touch them. You have to use the scroll wheel. And it's like they had to nerf the scroll wheel speed because it was like too reactive on the screen. So now it's like painfully slow. So let's say you go in there, you set up your Bluetooth settings, whatever. You want to get out of settings. You have to scroll all the way to the top. And then the word settings turns into the word home. And then you have to click a button. Think about how much easier it is to use settings on any touchscreen device right now.
There's no way that this product was conceived before, let's say, January of last year.
No.
You with me?
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So that means from ship to conception, it's like 18 months. At, best case. Like
Sure.
most conservative estimate there. When have you ever heard of tech hardware, having that kind of life cycle and being successful? That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's
And
not,
I think
that isn't enough time to develop an OS, a touchscreen OS, like to the expectation that anybody should have or would have.
What if I told you this is just an Android app?
Of course it is, because it has to be.
Yeah.
They can't start from nothing.
They've
Not in that
already
amount of time.
compiled this to run on Android. It's running on Android phones and it's running on iPhones. So it's like, this device does not need to exist. Everything that it can do. And what I want to get to is just that I have not found a single thing that this thing can do that your smartphone can't do. And it's $200. So that's not cheap. It's not poorly made. Like the Teenage Engineering Industrial Design team did an okay job given the specs that they were given. The battery life is not horrible. It lasts, I got it to last like a day or two, but I don't use it all the time. It was fully charged yesterday morning and it's currently sitting at 19%. And I've barely used it in the last day. So it does just kind of sit there and drain its battery. It's not heavy. So to me, it's like, if you have kids and you want them to experiment with AI, this isn't the worst thing for it, but like $200 for a toy where you could just have this on an app on your phone. And if you trust your kids with your phone already, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know who this is for. And I don't think it really solves. I think it's technology in search of problems to solve. I will say that if AI services get better, I do think that this product could get better, but that's not the number one problem I have with it. It's that, okay, this is a device with a camera on it, right? I can't take pictures.
Yeah. It's just, the camera is just to talk to the AI, right?
This is a device with a screen on it that I can keep on me at all times. I can't read text messages or emails.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, so it's useless as a communications app.
Yes. So it's like, you can ask it questions, but you can ask Google questions. You can ask anything a question. You can go on ChatGPT on Edge. or on Bing. You can ask it a question there. It's like
you can ask me a question, and I'd probably be just as accurate.
But Ozzie actually might know more. Yeah, because there are and I think Sam Altman even said it this weekend or last week. He's like, ChatGPT 4 sucks. It's not very good. He's like, it's the worst GPT you're ever going to use the rest of your life. So if the OpenAI co-founder CEO thinks that this stuff sucks, I also think it sucks. It has not been good at giving me information. It's very bad at anything remotely close to real-time information. And when it does have an answer, it is so painfully verbose where you're just like, stop. I don't want to hear anymore.
Yeah.
And it won't stop. You can't tell it to stop. There's no way to get it to stop. It just keeps talking. So
it's that guy who just filibusters to try and sound smart.
Yes, it is. It is a robot version of that guy. But, sometimes that guy knows what he's talking about. Just like sometimes. Not all the time. But yeah. So yeah, I hate it. It's stupid. It's a bad product. And they lied. I want to get to this part. They lied. And it shouldn't surprise us, right? They lied about this thing called the large action model, which was going to be a way to train this device to use web apps or apps for you, right? That's the personal AI assistant that I thought I was buying. And they shipped it with 4 features that use their so-called large action model. One is Midjourney, which I'm not going to pay for a Midjourney subscription, so I'm not going to test it, but I let other people test it, whatever. Another one is Spotify. I don't have a Spotify account, and I don't want to. I honestly, I don't feel comfortable giving this device any access to any account that I have because I simply don't trust this company. And then they have Uber and DoorDash. I have not heard anyone I don't know anyone who has successfully been able to hail an Uber with this device yet. And most people are struggling to get it to do the correct order on DoorDash because they claim that they trained the OS to know how to use these apps. But you know how often apps get updated. They can move a button. They could do all sorts of stuff that would screw up with that flow. So that's why they invented Teach Mode. Teach Mode was going to be, it was going to allow the user to train the OS to interact with various things. Like I could have trained this to interact with Shacknews CMS, right? And maybe I could like train it to write an evening reading article or something. That thing doesn't even exist. They're like, we don't know when we're shipping it. That was like the wow thing of the product. And they just wet fart didn't ship it. And they said they had safety concerns because they were worried hackers would use it. I think they're full of shit. And also just one last thing about this company. Apparently, and this is not going to surprise anyone, the CEO, and I think the company as a whole, this is a pivot from being an NFT company.
That now it's starting to make sense.
Yeah. Once you realize, and I'm going to tell you, this guy, Jesse, the CEO of Rabbit, he did his best to scrape the internet of any evidence of him being an NFT bro, but it still popped up. There was an interview in China that he couldn't erase. But yeah, he is an NFT bro. I guess you could call him a reformed NFT bro who has gone from selling us monkey pictures to now selling us orange devices. But yeah, I think shame on them for shipping this in the condition that it's in. And if they never ship Teach Mode, yeah, I hope there's a lawsuit or something that comes at them because this is the condition that this device is in right now, just from a software and OS experience, is piss poor. And yeah, I haven't written a review of it yet because I'm like, I've been publicly asking the CEO and the company if they have any update on when Teach Mode will ship, and they're like, look over there, so yeah, doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. I don't know if you watched the video from Marquez Brownlee on this, but he called it like unreviewable.
I saw the headline. Yeah.
I don't know if it's unreviewable, but it's bad. Also, just from an industrial design standpoint, this screen has a massive bezel, which makes no sense because the device itself is a bezel. I hate stuff like that, but you can't even use the touchscreen. So what's the point? I will say from a software standpoint, they have this little rabbit that shows up on the screen, and when you hold down the button to talk to it, its ears perk up. I think that's kind of cute.
It's cute.
It's not $200 cute.
No,
but it's
not much is.
It also would have worked perfectly fine as an app. And I think that's what's really pissing people off. They're like, why isn't this an app? But honestly, if this shipped as an app with all these same horrible user experiences, I'd still say it's garbage. It just wouldn't be a product that's garbage. It would be an app that's garbage. But I do think that to your earlier point, these products are rushing out the door because it's very obvious that both Apple and Google, and I think Samsung's already doing it, these companies that have smartphones are going to make AI features for their phones, right? Apple mentioned the neural engine a bunch today, all that stuff. So yeah, like I think these companies were like, this is our window to try to make some of our money. And they did sell 100,000 of these rabbits, so they made a lot of money. I don't know how much their VCs needed or whatever, but they made some money here.
You gonna take that money and run?
I think that's what's happening. But yeah, it feels shitty to buy this thing. I feel bad if anyone bought this because of our coverage. We've never said to buy this. I want to throw it out there. The way that we cover stuff at Shacknews is like, here's what the company said, right? It's not us endorsing them. We're just like, this was one of the big announcements at CES. And honestly, they weren't really at CES, Ozzie. They just announced this during CES.
I was at CES and I didn't see these guys.
That's how shady this was. It's like they just took advantage of the tech hype of CES and like dropped their keynote on like a Wednesday. But yeah, Jesse, the CEO, he really makes promises in that presentation that did not come to fruition with this device. So as a consumer, I'm disappointed. As a reviewer, I'm kind of just disgusted. And yeah, I hate it. I guess is the TLDR here. I hate it. I really hate this thing. And it is I said this about another AI company, but I feel the same way. Like these companies are so convinced that AI is the best and AI is the solution for everything that they're forgetting that they're making products for humans. And this is a terrible product for humans. So it's like, I wish that some of them would just talk to people before they go and spend all this money building this crap. And just as a note, the Humane AI pin, Marquez Brownlee's been doing a great job covering it. He said that if you request a refund for the Humane AI pin, the company's auto reply email asks you to provide a reason for why you're returning it. They're trying to prevent people from returning them because they're getting hit with that many returns. Because that's like a $700 device, and it has like a $30 a month subscription. So yeah,
right, yeah.
But yeah, these are two AI devices that are just not ready for prime time, and I think that the services themselves are not ready for prime time. I don't think GPT is at the place that everyone likes to act like it is. And yeah, maybe GPT-5 will be better, and maybe this device will be less shit by the time that comes out. But if the main reason I bought it was this large action model and teach mode, and that never ships, this will be undoubtedly the biggest bait and switch in recent history of technology. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Rabbit R1, and
wow,
I hate it. Do you have a question for it, Joe? Do you want me to ask it a question for you?
Right now, live?
Yeah, I can do it right now.
I want to give our guest the honor.
Ozzie, do you want to ask the rabbit a question?
Well, you put me on the spot here. So I'm going to say, predict the future of Microsoft.
Can you predict the future of Microsoft?
Future outlook for Microsoft is positive, with a strong focus on artificial intelligence, AI, and the integration of AI models into its products and services. The New Future of Work initiative, which began during the pandemic, has entered a new chapter centered on AI, recognizing the unprecedented opportunity for technology to transform the way people work. Microsoft is also investing in generative AI, with projections of $10 billion in annual revenue and a potential stock price of $600 in the next 3 years. The company is expected to benefit from the shift in corporate interest towards generative AI, with over half of top tech officers planning to invest in enterprise-level Gen AI software in the next 6 months. Microsoft's Copilot is seen as a significant advantage and a torchbearer for the broader AI market. In terms of stock performance, Microsoft has a consensus rating of strong buy, with an average price target of $489.56, representing a 23.69% increase from the current price of $395.78. Company is also expected to outperform its overall industry in sales and earnings in the next quarter. Microsoft's stronghold in academia and the professional world, exempli.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
I can't. It just keeps going.
Actually, ask it what the weather is in California. I want to see if it actually tries to give the weather for the whole state.
It's the weather in California.
Checking now.
It gave me on
The weather
screen.
in California on May 7th is partly cloudy, with a high temperature of 73 degrees Fahrenheit and a low temperature of 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'm sure that's right somewhere. I'm sure that's right in one part of California at least.
Like, California's so fucking huge. I hate that thing. I hate it. By the way, in the time that we were using it, we burned 4% off its battery.
Oh
Wow.
my god! I didn't even ask about the battery. How long does this thing last?
It's like, if you barely use it, 2 days. If you use it, you're going to get maybe a day out of it. It really depends what you're doing with it. Man.
Wow.
I hate
Let's move the frick on from this garbage.
Anyway, sorry, but that's...
No. I'm glad now that we are educated on it.
This is a PSA. Do not buy the Rabbit R1 until they address teach mode. If they never address teach mode, never buy Rabbit R1. And yeah, if GPT gets better, some of these features will get better, but it's not good enough. Not even remotely close. That's it. That's what we've been playing. I can't wait to get back to F-Zero 99.
Wait, have none of us really been playing Hades? Like, it just went into early access this week, and
No.
wow, yeah, that shows how little time we've had.
Yeah, I have not. Donovan played it for the site. He had the early access build early access, I guess.
It's a lucky man.
He also got to play the technical test. But yeah, no, I haven't. Dude, I can't beat the first Hades, so I don't know. I'll get. It's like Hollow Knight. Everyone's like, well, we want Silksong, and I'm like, I want time to actually play the first one. But yeah, no, we haven't played Hades 2. We're a bad video game podcast. Sorry about that.
I feel like Silksong is going to get self dropped in June, and God help us if that happens.
Yeah, at the Summer of Jeff, they're just like, bam, Silksong out now. I don't know.
Probably will be an out now thing.
Yeah. Why bother with reviews? Like, here, people are going to buy that game. Yeah. Anyway, we should move on to Joe's segment here.
Let's do it. We'll be right back. Ozzie and Asif, welcome to How Long to D2.
Okay.
The game where we guess how long Star Wars video games take to roll vertically scrolling credits on, according to howlongtobeat.com.
Okay.
This is not Price is Right rules, so the answer that is closest to the correct answer will win each round.
Even if you go
for
over.
each game that... Yeah.
Okay.
Right. For each game that I mentioned, we are going to be looking for the main story plus extras result. If you've ever been to howlongtobeat.com, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially that means the type of play style where you beat the campaign, but you took a few detours along the way. So these are people that do not refer to themselves as completionists, nor do they refer to themselves as mainlining. And we're going with that result because that typically from game to game has the most amount of entries, which means mathematically should be the most accurate. So any questions on the game?
No, let's do it.
Okay. We'll start with Asif and then Ozzie for each round. Should we alternate? Is that fair? No, there's no Price is Right, so there's no fairness involved. Okay. Game number 1. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
You played this 5 hours.
Okay. Ozzie?
I did play this, but much like with what I'm going through with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I had a lot of reviews along the way, so I had to start and stop. How long did this take me? I'm going to say 15.
15. Asif with 25. You got it. The correct answer is 33 and a half hours
Nice.
to see the
That's right.
entire
This isn't
game
mainlining.
plus some DLC. Yes, we want the answer that is going to be the most general approach to the game. We presume. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2.
The Force Unleashed 2? I don't even remember this game.
I believe this game was a bit of a flop.
Yeah, what the hell even was this game?
I remember the game. I just remember it was really unnecessary if you played the first one.
Yeah, why would they make 2 of them? I'm going to say 10 hours. I don't know, though.
Okay. Ozzie?
I'll say 18.
Wow. Asif, once again, with the correct answer, because the correct answer is 7 hours. This is a short one.
Yeah.
So to see the entire campaign plus some side content, 7 hours. That's swift.
Like the dev said, why did we bother with this?
Yeah, it's like, that's probably $60.
Yeah, probably. Next up, Star Wars Battlefront 2 back in 2005.
Yeah. Oh, the good one.
The good one.
15 hours?
Okay.
8.
That's probably right.
The streak continues. We are looking at 17 hours.
Wow. It was a good game.
I think I would have went with Ozzie's answer too, because this series had that campaign mode, which was pretty lightweight.
Yeah.
And it was more or less just the multiplayer mode with like
most people played it for the multiplayer.
Single player frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is a game that's perennially on my backlog. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Obsidian's Take. The Sith Lords is the subtitle here.
I'm going to say 70 hours.
Okay.
I'm going to say 50 hours.
He's on the board.
There you go.
The correct answer, 40 and a half hours, is the average log time for main plus extras. Next up is Star Wars Dark Forces.
I'm going to say 6 hours.
Okay.
5 hours.
Oh, he tried to $1 bomb me.
He did try, but he went the wrong direction. Correct answer, 10 and a half hours.
Take that, Ozzie.
Next up, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. I believe this is the most recent Lego Star Wars release, maybe a couple years ago now.
Sure.
But keep in mind, to both of you, keep in mind this is
all the movies.
All the movies, yes.
Yeah.
So
let's see, 16 hours.
Okay.
30.
Ozzie, you got it.
Nice.
34.
That's a really good game, by the way. It's fun.
No, I love those games.
I love Lego games. You know what I want a new one of? Lego City Undercover. It was
I think I know that.
It was like GTA, but for Lego, and it was on the Wii U. It was like one of the best Wii U games. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
It would be great for the kids, man, because it's safe. It's like GTA, but fun for like the family.
Nice.
Yeah.
Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Is this N64? Is that correct? Rogue Squadron?
Yeah, it is. Mighty fine video game. 12 hours.
12 hours. Okay, Ozzie?
8.
Oh, no.
Is it 10?
Yeah, it's 10. I'll give you both a point.
Good call.
I'm calling an audible here.
Okay.
If anyone gets the number square
It's 2
on
points.
the nose, I'm going to give 3 points for that because that seems really hard.
Yeah, for sure.
We have 7 games left.
Okay.
Star Wars TIE Fighter. This is an early 90s PC game.
Yeah. 8 hours.
Okay.
I never actually played this, but I feel like I remember it being longer. I'm going to say 12.
Correct. Well, 22 and a half.
Oh, wow.
This one goes to Ozzie.
Yeah, it was longer.
Okay, the first installment, this one by BioWare, famously, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
20 hours.
20, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ozzie?
30.
30. This one also goes to Ozzie. He's coming back.
Damn.
And not only is he coming back, I think it might be tied. Let's see. Asif is coming in hot with 5 points. Ozzie is coming in hot with 5 points.
Oh, wow.
It's all tied up.
Yep.
Okay, next up.
What was the answer, Joe?
36. I apologize. 36.
Okay.
You were very close.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. This too was a third-person action adventure, kind of like Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, but a little less silly, if memory serves.
I don't remember this at all. I'm going to say 5 hours.
Okay.
I never played any of these games. This is on PC. This is on PC. I never actually played the Star Wars PC games.
This was on PC and Xbox, I believe. Probably also PlayStation 2, I would guess.
10.
10. Ozzie, correct.
Damn. Gained
11
the lead.
and a half. And the lead, yes. 11 and a half is the correct answer. All right. An original Xbox game, a bit of a cult hit, Star Wars Republic Commando.
8 hours.
Okay.
This is like collecting dust in my Steam library. I always wanted to play this and I never actually got around to it. I'm going to say 12.
Guys, splitting the difference once again. Holy crap. Holy crap.
Nice.
10 hours. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the first Respawn Jedi game, about 5 years ago.
25 hours.
Okay.
I don't remember it being that long.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 15.
This one goes to Asif.
Yes.
22 hours is the average entry.
Barely. Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. My personal favorite, not because it was a great game, but I just played it so much, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
Pod racing?
Yes.
This is what we call pod racing?
That's correct.
For the N64?
It was a 64 and a PC game, which is where I played it.
Sure. It was not very long. I'm going to say 5 hours.
Okay.
I'm going to say this had to be like on the length of like a game like F-Zero or something. It couldn't have been that long. I'm going to say 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours is very bold of you to say. But unfortunately, this goes to Asif. 5.5 hours is the average time.
Yep. I played that game.
5.5.
I enjoyed it.
That seems insanely short to me.
It was N64, man. There wasn't a whole lot there.
A different era.
It was a barren cupboard that first year for the N64, and pod racing was one of the. It was something that really showed off the graphical power of the 64 at the time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
our
a
final
long game.
Question. And should I do a tally? Like, does this question even matter? Let's see.
Asif
has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Asif.
Mm-hmm.
Ozzie, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points, Ozzie. So you can only hope to tie.
Okay.
And I can definitely come up with a tiebreaker if needed.
Okay.
Our final round is a little game about 20-ish years ago. It's an RTS. Star Wars Empire at War. How long to beat Empire at War?
20 hours.
Okay. It's an RTS. God, I never touched strategy. 30.
The correct answer is 28 hours. Oh my goodness, we have a tie.
No, Ozzie won.
No. Now you both have 8.
Wait, I thought
you both have 8 points.
I thought I was losing.
No. Asif, you had 8 rounds won. Ozzie had 7.
Oh,
now
so
he has
Ozzie
8.
just tied it. Okay, my bad.
Ozzie just tied it. So we're going to do a tiebreaker round, and I'm going to do it live, as they say.
I had my J.R. Smith moment, Ozzie.
Shoot the wrong basket.
I didn't know how much time we had on the clock.
Yeah, the J.R. Smith can mean quite a few things.
That's true.
All right, let's see.
I ripped my shirt off prematurely.
Okay, here we go. I believe this is EA Motive's release maybe 4 years ago.
Sure.
Star Wars Squadrons, a throwback to the TIE Fighter era of the 90s.
11 hours.
I recall this being short.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say 10.
Oh my goodness. The correct answer is 11.5.
Yes!
Nicely done.
Whoa!
What a battle, Ozzie. It's like Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan or something. It's good.
Or something.
It's good.
Wow.
I
love a Nyx-esque finish in How Long to D2. Also, I had an alternate title for How Long to D2, which is Now This is Podcasting, which I should have said earlier.
Yeah, Now This is Podcasting was better. Nice. I enjoyed that game.
Less descriptive, though.
I enjoyed that game. Even though I know I won, but even if I lost, I enjoyed that. And Ozzie, you're a good competitor. That was fun.
Well done to the combatants, and I hand the mic back to Asif.
Yeah, and may the force be with you, cake producer. Welcome to Storytime. Let's dive into the latest stories from the past week. Shacknews reviewed a ton of stuff. I'm going to hit it as fast as I possibly can. We reviewed Heading Out, which I believe is from Saber Interactive. This is
yes.
It looks cool as hell.
It does.
The art style is like black and white, like cell shady kind of stuff. Just different game. We don't have a whole lot of time. Immaculate, almost academia level vibes, says Lucas White. Fascinating take on roguelike gameplay conventions. Seems like we're getting a lot of those this year with like Balatro and stuff.
Roguelike car games. This is the second roguelike car game.
That's true. Intense resource management, white knuckle, rare sections, modular storytelling with cool gameplay interactions. Not a whole lot of negatives, just some minor jank. Radio skits they harsh the vibe, and a slightly disappointing ending. But it seems cool as hell. I do want to try this out as someone who just likes car games in general. But yeah, looks neat as hell. Yeah. First game off the list. 8 out of 10 at Shacknews. Very good game. Next up, I call this Indika. I've heard a lot of people pronouncing it Indika, but this is a puzzle game, right? Looks pretty cool. Got a 9 out of 10 at Shacknews. Inventive storytelling, clever use of environmental areas and sound, brilliant character writing, strong voice work. Tedious puzzles is one of the cons, and an important theme remains underdeveloped. That's always frustrating. The vibe of this is certainly like a darker looking game, but I don't know. Seems kind of interesting. 9 out of 10 at Shacknews. Pretty good. Yeah. That was a Josh Broadwell joint. Moving on. Surmount. This is an interesting game about climbing a mountain. And it's also a roguelike, because everything's a roguelike in 2024.
Now, this is funny because I just reviewed a game about climbing a mountain like 6 months ago. So this caught my eye too.
Yep. This was reviewed by Laren Bell over there, Shacknews Freelancers. Challenging yet satisfying platforming. Controls are easy to learn, tricky to master. Intriguing story, cute characters, helpful accessibility options, lots of replayability. There were some wonkiness in the controls. There was a glitch that hindered her progress. No way to refresh levels, and the mini games not always playable. That's kind of weird.
Now, the thing with Surmount is that it looks way more cartoony.
Yes.
Than I would expect. And compared to Jussant from Don't Nod, which is like a lot more, it's a lot more atmospheric, and it's artistic. A lot more, it's way more artistic. But it looks like the mountain climbing mechanics are very similar in that it's just you're trying to like just stay afloat on top of this thing. Although in Surmount, it looks like there are a lot of fail states.
Yeah. It looks cool though. And yeah, we are entering a new era of climbing mountains in video games. That's another quickie. We're trucking down the road.
7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for Surmount.
7 out of 10. I think without the glitchiness, it probably gets a higher score. But hopefully they can patch that stuff out. But 7 out of 10 is not a bad score at Shacknews. It's what we gave Endless Ocean, which apparently is a crime against humanity, according to 3-letter websites. Ozzie, you reviewed the Razer Viper V3 Pro mouse, didn't you?
I'm using it right now, as a matter of fact, and I'm really surprised at like how good this thing feels as a wireless mouse, and also how much lighter it is than what I'm used to using. And it's funny because I had been in the market for a new mouse for a couple of weeks, and I ultimately settled on the Razer Basilisk from a couple years ago. And this feels like a lot more form-fitting on my hand. So I'm ultimately going to go back to it. But the Viper V3 Pro is just it's such a pleasure to use, and you can use it on almost any surface. The wireless dongle is really easy to set up. You can put this thing on just about anything. And the settings make it ideal for something like if you're using it for a shooter.
Yeah, the amount of DPI settings that you have, especially in wireless mode, is interesting. Now, obviously, a lot of hardcore FPS players are going to be playing this wired, and that
I don't know about that, because I think if it's wired, you're only restricted to the 1,000 hertz.
Oh, geez.
So you can only go up to like the 8,000 hertz if you're running wireless.
Okay, this is weird. That's strange. It's interesting.
Battery life so long on this thing that like I hardly notice it.
That's cool. But I know that from talking to pro players, there's a stigma about not plugging in your mouse still.
Gotcha.
Don't the new models of mouse though? It's not a Bluetooth connection. It's something like Lightspeed.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
I forget it off the top of my head, but I will say that one thing that really surprised me about this is how scaled back Razer went with the design. Because this is Razer we're talking about. They got to put RGB into everything.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that for this.
There's like
no
a very
RGB anything whatsoever on this thing.
It looks nice. It's like an understated.
It's actually better for it. They focus more on performance than on flashiness, and I actually appreciate that.
For once. That's cool.
Exactly, yeah.
No, it really doesn't look like I was looking at the header image for your review. Just from that image, it could have been a Logitech. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't scream Razer. It's not like neon green staring at me or anything. Yeah,
exactly. Now the only thing with this is it's a Razer product, so it's going to be overpriced as hell. So if you got about $180,
yeah,
and you're in the market for a wireless mouse, go for it.
And you're gonna have some weird bloatware that you have to install. But that's true. That's true of every mouse now. So it's not like you can't even escape it at this point. Like Corsair has their stupid bloatware. Razer has theirs. Everyone has one.
I feel like Cortex wasn't as intrusive this time as it has been like in my past experiences with it. So.
Probably because of the lack of RGBs.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but that's cool. If you're in the market for a mouse that's wireless and has crazy DPI settings, this is the one. Sorry, I think we score. Yeah, I got a 9 out of 10 at Shacknews. It's very good for a product. If I were to score the Rabbit R1, it would not be a 9 out of 10.
I have it on our short list for best
accessory. Yeah, I can see that. And then our last review of the week, because my God, there's a lot of reviews. It's only Tuesday. Sorry. It'll be Thursday when you hear this. V Rising, which has been an early access game for a while. Looks cool as hell. Got a 7 out of 10 at Shacknews. It's action RPG. It's like a Diablo-like in a vampire world. It's got some cool boss fights. There are some basic kind of survival mechanics that are a little boring. And it does start slow. But yeah, this has been in development for a while. It's finally out in 1.0. And yeah, Lucas White gave it a 7 out of 10 at Shacknews.
Yeah, heavy on the base building, if memory serves.
I think so.
I don't see that listed in the pros or cons, but I know that's a big part of the game.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on. These are quickies. Last quickie. Microsoft. You know, that company that just acquires everyone all the time.
Are we sure this is going to be a quickie? Because it sounds like we can go on all day about this.
I'm going to try to make it a quickie. I don't know how, but I'm going to try. They're shutting down Arkane Austin and Tango Gameworks, and I think 2 other studios. They're shutting down the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush, which is like one of the best games that came out.
Makes me so angry.
It was one of the best games. Came out last year. Sorry, go ahead, Ozzie.
No, and especially because we've been reading stories throughout the past year about how they're like, oh man, we want more games to be like Hi-Fi Rush. Oh, look what great work Tango's doing. We hope everybody else is like them. Yeah, and then they're going to shut them down like within a few months, like right before a big showcase too. Which they have the big Xbox showcase coming in June. Who the hell's going to get excited about that now? What are we going to look at a bunch of games and be like, okay, so this studio, or are we going to give them another 12 months? Like, come on, man. Like I got so discouraged and so angry reading this story.
Well, you know what really pissed me off, Ozzie, was reading a story from Shacknews a year ago, actually less than a year ago, where Matt Booty said Microsoft will not shut down Arkane Austin. He said Arkane Austin is not currently in danger of closing following Redfall's launch.
What did everybody say as soon as Redfall came out and fell on its face? Everyone's like, well, that studio's done. And they're just like, no, we swear this studio's fine.
Yep.
Like, it's just one bad game. It's going to recover. It'll be fine. They didn't even get to finish out the DLC, which, by the way, if you bought that season pass or that collector's edition expecting a full season of Redfall, and never mind like what a dumb idea that would have been in the first place, but there are people out there that did that. What do they do now? They didn't get what was promised to them, and they're not going to.
Yeah.
So what do those people do now?
I don't know. It's a mess. It's a goddamn mess. And this is why I was against Microsoft acquiring so many studios. So here we are on the other side of it. And I think I said it via a tweet. I'll just repeat what I said on Twitter because I think it is succinct enough. Microsoft and Embracer are showing the entire video game industry that the idea of acquiring growth is a fallacy when management doesn't value people.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
That's what it is. It's like people make games. There's talented artists. Like Hi-Fi Rush is a gorgeous video game. It's like one of the best looking video games I've ever seen. Well, if I was a kid and I saw like back in the 90s and you showed me Hi-Fi Rush and you're like, this is a video game, I wouldn't believe you because it's so visually stunning and it's fun and it was different. It's like if you can make that game and that's not good enough for your corporate overlords, nothing is. That's what's frustrating.
I think that's what's the most infuriating thing about all this is you can argue that, like, okay, put aside all the promises they made about Arkane Austin. Redfall was not a good video game. Correct. You could make a case that, okay, maybe it's time to shut down that studio. You know what wasn't a bad video game? You know what didn't fail? Was Hi-Fi Rush. And that studio's gone. You know what else didn't fail? Spider-Man 2. And Insomniac had to lay people off. What are we doing?
And you know what? I have to bring it up because when the Wii U was failing and Nintendo had 3 consecutive years of financial losses, Iwata took a pay cut. The executives took a pay cut. You know what we haven't heard? We haven't heard Phil Spencer take a pay cut. We haven't heard Matt Booty take a pay cut. We haven't heard Sarah Bond take a pay cut. And maybe they should because they suck at this. Why are there so many people managing this? I wouldn't lump
Sarah into that, though, because ID at Xbox is doing amazing stuff right now.
She's not just ID at Xbox anymore. She's president of Xbox, Ozzie.
She did earn that promotion, though, based on her work at ID at Xbox.
That's fine, but, like, how much do you think they're being paid? Tens of millions of dollars?
Way more than they probably should.
Tens of millions of dollars. And how much are they saving by shutting down these studios? Probably the same amount. All I'm saying is that in Japan, when faced with a much more dire situation, Nintendo executives took the L. And America does not think like that. And this is an example of that. And this is why last year, when so many people in the gamer discourse were chanting against the FTC, the Fair Trade Commission, in favor of Microsoft acquiring a company for $70 billion. $70 billion. They had $70 billion that they could use to acquire a company a few years ago. But now we have to shut down these studios. And it's like...
That's not even mentioning that they spent that $70 billion to acquire Blizzard, and they immediately took a hatchet to it. After they swore they wouldn't.
Yeah. And so it's like they're talking out of both sides of their mouths is my point. And I don't hold Sarah Bond in any higher regard than anything else. Like it's all bad. $10 million. Phil Spencer makes $10 million a year. How about less? What happens if you take 1 million this year, Phil? How many people do you have to lay off in Austin if you just take one instead? Take some accountability for your company screwing up.
Okay, producer and fact checker Joe has come in with it's a $10 million figure for what Phil Spencer's taking.
Yeah, that's before stock options. So yeah, we could spend an entire hour on this, but I think we should move on. But this is why last week I pitched a celebrity boxing CEO show because man, I would fight.
Yeah, we are a month to the day away from Summer Game Fest.
Yeah,
and it's like. I mean, yeah, if you're a consumer, this is going to go in one ear and out the other, and you're going to forget all about this by next week. But if you're people like us who are covering this industry and we've watched an entire year of this, how is anybody supposed to get excited about this, about what's coming?
Mm-hmm. I can't.
Yeah, amen.
I can't. And I wanted to know what's happening with Perfect Dark. You know, like there's games that I want to know about. I want to see some bullshit Fable trailer again. But now this is a cloud that's over Microsoft now.
Yeah, you're going to look at those games and going to be like, well, if whether that game succeeds or not, like, are those studios even going to be around in a year?
Yeah.
That's all you can think about now.
Yeah. Joe, I'm going to include these other ones as quickies. Apple had an iPad event today at 10 in the morning Eastern, and whatever. The iPad Pro is thinner than the iPad Air. There's an M4 chip inside the iPad. They never had an M3 chip inside the iPad. It's still a 3 nanometer processor. It could have been a press release. It didn't need to be a presentation.
Okay, as someone who's slightly less cynical, slightly, and I do mean slightly. It's nice to see the OLED. I like the OLED quite a bit.
Yep.
So if you don't have an iPad Pro, this would be a great model to get. But, other than that, yeah, it's a little
I just
flimsy.
I live off of my iPhone. Like, my iPhone is my number one computing device. My next computing device is the thing I'm talking to you right now, which is like a desktop PC. Now that I don't travel as much, iPad's like worthless to me. I don't use it. I'm just not an iPad user. So this stuff doesn't really land with me. But also, like, I don't think that... Do you really think an OLED screen was worthy of this big video production event? No.
As someone who uses I'm using them right now to fact check Phil Spencer's salary. Long time use of this iPad Pro with Apple Pencil, which is a fantastic experience, I have to say, even as someone who's quick to throw jokes at Apple. But it's really nice, and it's like pretty incredible, very fluid, intuitive tech. If they really did get the processor to be more efficient and they got the screen to be OLED, which is going to be an incredible dark mode experience, I think, especially if you're writing and your palm is on the screen. That has been a big problem for me over the past couple of years, is the thing gets really warm and you almost feel like you're doing something wrong when you're writing for a long time. And so all that to once again repeat myself and say, like, if you're not in the ecosystem, this sounds like a great model, but it's like really subtle changes that don't really make for a great presentation.
No, it's also what, a 15-year-old product at this point. It's just the Apple's at the point now, outside of the Vision Pro, where every product is just thinner, faster, lighter, better screen. That's it. That's like where they're at. It's a feedback loop of just that. Oh, new silicon. This new M4 chip, it is still 3 nanometers. So it's like they're not, I don't know what they're doing. That's like so groundbreaking with this chip. Maybe it has better thermal design than the previous one, because they had to nerf the M3 because it was overheating. Maybe that's why they skipped it entirely here. But I just think it's funny to see Apple be like, oh yeah, it's M4, but it's still a 3 nanometer process. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Anyway.
Do you remember a couple years ago when the MacBook Pros started getting bigger? Because they got to a point and they were too thin. I had a model or two that I was like, why is this so small? I wanted a really powerful laptop, and you're prioritizing the thinness of it, which is irrelevant to me.
It was when they had the worst keyboard ever. Yeah, I remember.
Yep, that's right.
And then they put this SD card reader back on the side, and it was an HDMI on the side. That was the beginning of a. You know what? Apple reported last week, and guess what actually grew? Macintosh. Only product division that grew last quarter. Because, they're making something good.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
No new base iPad models, which is, I've been looking to upgrade my iPad for a while. So, is the 10th generation any good? You think?
At that price, it's really good. That's a good price.
$349?
Yeah, I think that's for what you're getting. I think it's a good price.
But it doesn't have the USB-C charger though, does it?
I think it does now.
Am I looking at that?
I think they have to now because of that EU thing.
It still runs on the A14 chip, which isn't bad in itself, right, Asif?
No, it's not bad. I'm a horrible person to ask about iPad. I just don't like it. I don't use the product. I don't have kids, so I don't need like some big ass rectangle for them to watch Bluey on or anything. So I
use it when I fly.
I haven't flown in like 4 years. I've been stuck here in Canton, Ohio. But no, I just don't.
Can I make a brief case for the iPad? Because I was singing that tune up until last year. I got this last year. Or no, year and a half ago.
But so you're in design.
Yes. And
you're an
always
artist.
turn my nose. That's going too far.
But you actually can use an Apple Pen, and it's not just stick figures, Joe.
Sure.
I have no artistic skill at all.
But what I was going to say, forget that side of it. I don't know what you would call it, like ancillary work utility of an iPad with the attached keyboard. Let me take care of that annoying stuff that I typically do at 9 a.m. This is really inside baseball of overworked professionals, which I count myself among. But that comms part of work that I don't need to be strapped to my desk, I love the iPad for that. Does that make sense?
Sure. Look, when I say what I'm talking about is just my personal reason why I don't use it. It's not that I understand that there are people. My mom, 100% of her computing is done on an iPad. She does not have another, like, she has a phone, but she like FaceTimes with her friends and reads stuff exclusively with the iPad. You know what I mean? So like, it's just a use case thing for me. For me, I prefer the form factor of the iPhone, and I do most of the stuff that people do with the ultra portable computer that is the iPad, I do with my phone. And then when I need a larger canvas for my work, I'm using an ultra wide monitor and a desktop PC. I just don't need that hybrid device. I don't even use a laptop anymore. Like, I just don't. If I traveled, I would. But no, right now I'm in a weird place. I'm like half out of the Apple ecosystem. I'm like 1 foot out, 1 foot in. But yeah.
Wow.
I know. And as someone who's known me for 10 years, like, yeah, that's a statement that I'm making. I used to be Mr. Apple. I would buy everything. And that's just not the case anymore. And iPad's one of those things I bounced off of. But like I said, even my family members, I know people who love that thing. But
I think now that I'm flying again, I'm back on the iPad train.
It's great for watching videos. Like, it's great. It's great at that. And that's like when I was flying to Japan for Tokyo Game Show and stuff, I definitely had my iPad with me, and it's great. Like, it has its use cases. Now the question is, if I'm getting on a plane, am I bringing my Apple Vision Pro to watch a movie, or am I bringing the iPad?
If you don't have any second, like if you don't have embarrassment issues, which I feel like I would struggle with that, then yeah, Vision Pro it up.
Yeah. I mean, I do a daily weather report about the city of Canton, Ohio. I have no shame. I'm not afraid.
Oh, that's different. That's great content. But
yeah, sometimes I'm just yelling at geese in a parking lot.
Yeah, but asking for a Coke and a Stroop waffle with that thing on your face is a different story.
And a straw, because you cannot drink with that thing on your face.
Right.
Okay, we got to move on to this last. I'm skipping Hades 2. Hades 2 is awesome. It's in early access. Go play it. None of us have played it. Read Donovan's preview. It's on the site right now. But I what are we
$30 though. I was gonna dive in just for the sake of the podcast. $30. I was surprised.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you have a indie darling. You know,
that implies $40 at retail, I would think.
I don't know. Yeah, when this thing hits Switch, who knows? Or will it even hit Switch? Will it be a Switch 2 game? Because Nintendo doesn't really have an early access model, like, at all.
No.
Speaking of Nintendo, they reported earnings last night. Ozzie and I know because we were there.
We're burning the midnight oil in more ways than one.
For real. Let's just hit some of these stories that I thought were pretty interesting. Obviously, we hit it at the beginning. Furukawa tweeted. He said, "This is Furukawa. Nintendo Switch 2 will be announced in the next 12 months at some point." It wasn't all sunshine and puppy farts. Nintendo forecasts a 19.3% drop in full year revenue. So last year, they actually grew revenue by a few percent to 1.67 trillion yen. They are now forecasting 1.35 trillion yen for this year's revenue. Some things that stuck out to me, their earnings are dropping by 38.9% year over year. That seems to indicate a ramping in spending, which would be what happens when they build supply for the new Switch. So I can confidently say that their guidance seems to imply that they will begin ramping up Switch to production sometime this year. It's bad news for shareholders because the dividend is now also dropping by 38.9%. It's tied to the earnings so that they never pay out more than they bring in. So that's not great. And then they're pretty confident, though. They think they're going to sell 13.5 million units of Switch or console hardware, as they call it, during the year. That's pretty insane for year 8 of the system.
Yeah. And they're pretty accurate. They tend to be predicting decently, right?
When it comes to the number of units, yes. Where they're very bad and habitual sandbaggers is with their yen assumptions. The yen is currently 155 yen to the dollar, and we're talking their guidance was based on 140 yen to the dollar assumption. So that is, they're building in with their conservatism, they're building in about a 10% tailwind to their numbers if the yen stays where it is versus where their assumptions are. So the number could go up is my point. They are habitual sandbaggers when it comes to this stuff. There was a bright spot in the earnings. The company's mobile and IP related income was up 81.6% in fiscal year 24. This was largely due to the Mario movie and its success. It's just funny because, like, it sounds like a lot of money, right? That's 5% of their overall sales. So even though this was like a big deal and it's the most profitable movie of the last year, it's 5% of Nintendo's sales. I do think it's interesting, though, that they're not reporting revenue here. This is earnings. So when they tell you that number, that 92.7 billion yen, that's all profit. So that's pretty sweet. Yeah. So as that part of their pie grows over time, Nintendo's margins are going to expand. And this is recurring revenue that is not tied to a console cycle. I think this is all great from a long-term shareholder perspective. And it is a number that I will continue to watch. I think it's important to note that even though it was wildly successful financially, only 5% of overall revenue. So it's like less than a game makes for them. Mm-hmm. It's just important to note that. And then, yeah, the Switch successor will be revealed in FY 25. So we have between now and March 31st, 2025, we're going to get a Switch announcement somewhere in there. But before then, if I were a betting man, they are going to release another Switch SKU in the fall, and people are going to be so pissed. And then they're going to
release like another collector's edition.
No. Switch Mini. Make a Switch that fits in my pocket, and I will buy it for $200. And you
like
will
the iPad Mini,
or like the 2DS Ozzie. Remember that one?
I do.
It was like $79, and it was hideous, but it was there, and it was at the end of the cycle. And here we are at the end of the cycle.
I think that's a great call. I think this is going to happen.
I think we're going to see it, and then they're going to end up beating their own hardware numbers because their guidance for hardware is so silly. They've sold 141 million Switches. If they do sell the 13.5 million Switches, they will be right at the Nintendo DS lifetime sales number, which is their company's record. So I'm like, I feel like they didn't want to guide for beating their own record. But yeah, so that's
they made some remark in the financial report that said our goal is to sell a unit, something along the lines of our goal is to sell a unit to everyone in the house.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of points to what you're saying, is that they're going to release another model to sell to somebody else in the home.
A smaller one that fits in your pocket, because that's what's been missing this whole generation. It doesn't fit in your pocket. The light, It's not small enough. It just isn't. And I don't know. I think it would be like a collector-y thing. It's not going to be some huge. It's not. Oh my god, this is so much better. The other thing I thought was interesting. Switch OLED sales continued to grow in the last fiscal year from the previous two. So that's pretty neat.
That's because the OG model's almost gone, right?
Yeah, but it's also just not very good. But yeah, like it seems like there's about 9 million people who there's like a built-in demand for Nintendo hardware of like 9 million people a year right now. And they're buying the OLED for now. But I think giving them another option in the fall, that's how you get over that 155 million total Switch sales number. And then, yeah, they announced in the Nintendo Direct coming in June, and that the Switch 2 will not be at that, so quit asking, you jerks. That's it. We did it. That's the longies. Holy crap.
This is Khan. Okay, great.
Can you imagine?
I will say one last thing about the Switch 2, and that's that if you remember, and I pointed this out in the story too, if you remember the pattern of the Switch hype cycle, they teased it in October, they presented it in January, they released it in March, right ahead of the end of the fiscal year. Mm-hmm. So I think they have the guidance so low that in the event that they manage to get this thing out in March, they'll beat it, and they can trumpet that they beat it. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I think internally, though, there's like a ton of pride on the line about beating that number. They want to beat the DS, but they also want to beat the PS2, which is,
I think it has a good chance.
It does. And I think another SKU is what pushes it over the goal line. So yeah. Something
And
that,
those people can buy Mario Kart.
oh god. And then bundles, man. Just start throwing out bundles. They need to have more, and I agree, like a special edition SKU of the Switch OLED would sell. I don't know what game, that's hard to say. But yeah.
Well, all that's left is Luigi's Mansion.
Well, there's more games coming, man, at the Direct. You said it.
Yeah, we have a Direct coming where they'll watch. They're gonna do like they did with the Wii U, and they're gonna re-release Mario Galaxy 2 just in time for the next console to not be backwards compatible, and we won't be able to play it again.
No, they're
start the cycle all over again.
No. They said the Nintendo account is going to be the bridge between the generations, and that implies purchases will transfer for the first time ever in the history of Nintendo. I believe that will happen. I also believe that we're going to get a 4K remake of Ocarina of Time. I believe a lot of crazy things. I believe that F-Zero 99 would come out, and it did.
I think we would get 4K Ocarina of Time before we get 4K Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom.
No, because there's going to be an announcement of DLSS whatever support for Switch, and they're going to be like, yep, Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin. Like they'll have a select group that will all be getting DLSS support, and they will all run at 4K 30 or something. Yeah.
What an age we live in.
Yeah. It's just, look, this stuff has been telegraphed to us based on the last 10 years of GPU development at NVIDIA, right? Like it all boils down to what is the processor they're going to use in the Switch, and is there also going to be a GPU inside of the dock? Because that is what's going to allow for 4K docked experiences, in my opinion. But we don't know. We'll have to wait, and we'll find out soon enough. So yeah, that's it. We did it. Holy crap.
Nice.
That's the show. I haven't even... today is... Yeah.
What a week it's been. Oh, it's only Tuesday.
I know, man. I'm like, oh, long week. It's Tuesday. I'm like, oh, God. Normally we record...
the rest, by the way.
What?
We can skip the...
No. This is real quick.
Okay.
We have community notes. We love our community. We want to shout out our community.
Yeah.
So we had, kind of on the Star Wars theme, we had a Shack Chat that went live on May the 4th where we said, which developer would you like to see make a Star Wars game? And Total Fusion 1 said Larian, and Gonk said Larian, and everyone wants to see Larian. Joe says Larian. Everyone wants to see Larian make a Star Wars RPG. That would be awesome. Yeah, please do it. And then also, Hasmamu on YouTube said, thank God, Joe Cake producer stopped Asif from live promoting Shacknews on many platforms. It's painful to hear. Love the new promotion at the end. So yeah, I don't have to tell people where to go to support us.
Nice.
And then yeah, if you want to if you want to join in on the community notes, reply on Shacknews Chatty, make your own thread about it, tweet at us. I'm at Techno Sucks over there while that platform's still alive. Maybe,
jump on our Discord.
Yeah, maybe drop a diss track to BBL Drizzy. Whatever you got going for yourself these days. But yeah, that'll do it. Thank you, Ozzie, for the last second invite and making it here, and for being awake with me last night while we covered Nintendo. And
won't be the last time it happens, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you to Joe for producing this, and thank you to John for fighting the good fight out in the streets of New York City today. He's
fighting for democracy. We didn't even talk about what happened with Helldivers.
Oh yeah, what are we doing? Helldivers, man. Holy crap. Just real quick. That whole, we're going to require a PSN account to log in on Steam. Boy, did that backfire. 215,000 negative Steam reviews later. Sony backtracked. Wow.
That story feels like a million years ago. It just happened not even 48 hours ago.
It was like 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago. Yeah. So anyway, congratulations, divers. We did it. A major order complete. And another win for gamers and a win for democracy. But yeah, that'll do it.
Cool.
That's everything.
Wow.
Right? And if we missed something, we missed it. You can comment.
Well, we missed whatever happened on Wednesday and Thursday, to be clear.
Yeah, nothing is going to happen on Wednesday or Thursday that's news related.
What could possibly happen?
Aliens land. Something. If aliens land,
we're also recording this before the EA financial report comes live. So
it's out. I gotta get over to the other Discord to help Shacknews. So that's it. This is the show. We did it. Thanks.
Wow. Thanks, Ozzie.
I'm looking at the camera and I'm waving at it, even though it's not on, and I'm saying thank you for listening, and I'll never forget you, and you're my favorite people. Bye-bye.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Shack Together is a Shacknews production.
Shack Together is a Shacknews production.
Shack Together is a Shacknews production.
Shacknews is a multimedia company consisting of a variety of entertainment properties, including Shacknews.com, video game and cutting-edge technology coverage with evergreen video, guide, and long-read content, providing readers and viewers with the latest reviews, previews, interviews, and news. Shacknews content is readable and viewable at shacknews.com, Facebook, YouTube at Shacknews, Shacknews Interviews, and Shacknews VODs, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at Shacknews Media, Twitch, and more. But that's not all. You can play Bubbletron, our first video game. Combine 3 ideas, hit the market, and get your money hat. Bubbletron is a daily game in the style of Wordle, where players can launch a company and see its valuation instantly. Hit that high score and brag to your friends. Visit Bubbletron.com to play. There is no download required, no signups required, but if you are into app downloads, we have the cutest one on the planet. It's called Shack Pets, the ultimate battle for cuteness. Swipe your pets to victory on iOS and Android in this Tinder-like app for pets. Shacknews is proud to present a variety of micro products, all available for free at shacknews.com. Cortex is a publishing platform available to all of our users. Shouts is a Twitter replacement in a time where Twitter really needs replacing. And Reader, an RSS reader that won't get shut down by Google anytime soon. You can import YouTube, subreddits, all sorts of cool stuff, even podcast feeds. And lastly, all of our products are completely free to use and play, so if you're a fan of what we're doing and want to support the Shacknews ecosystem, head over to shacknews.com/Mercury. Mercury offers subscribers access to exclusive Shacknews swag like hoodies and VIP access to our long reads in downloadable format. It's a great way to support us. There's different tiers, and you get a lightning bolt next to your name.